the back page of the Sindo, you wanted to touch on, guys, I know. Eamon Sweeney, it's below his main piece. Breakthrough Ladies Gaelic football season has become unsung sports story of the year. So he's talking about last Sunday's All-Ireland Club final, which was a great match. Corstaunton's club won again, their 5th in 11 years, 6th overall. Probably wouldn't have won with any of those finals without Staunton, Sweeney says, but they're far more than a one-player team. He says it's worth noting too that the senior final was TG Carr's highest rated programme of the week, 76,000 viewers, and mentions again the 46,000 which attended the All-Ireland final, the game's best attended women's the game was the best attended women's sporting event in the world this year, and even points out the final was one of the less exciting games, mentions the league final between Cork and Donegal as one of the most thrilling contests he's seen in any year. So Eamon Sweeney, massively positive about this season for women's football.
Yeah, like he's right to say that like there were 3 games that were televised and were compelling viewing. You could throw in the Mayo Cork semi-final, was very good. There was a very good qualifier between Monaghan and Cork. But Clean and myself were just discussing outside that we've got to go beyond a bit more than 4 or 5 games makes a season. And what part of the problem ladies Gaelic football, and it's rightly getting a platform like it has with 46,000 at an All-Ireland final. But you take Dublin and Mayo, who got to the All-Ireland, we don't maybe look enough at their path to it or the lack of games that they've had, and we could be watching these top players like Cora, like Noelle Healy, Sinead O'Hearn, and whether it's televised or not, that they themselves get to play again more games during the summer. Because
there's a disconnect between the provincial system and doesn't feed into the championship, which I think is really odd.
It's absolutely ridiculous that you have Dublin. There'll be a cracking league when they're playing in February and March in the mud, and it's not televised, and you might have only 50 people at a Mayo Dublin game. I happened to be at one in the season before last. The game, there wasn't a scoreboard. The conditions were shocking. Most people were watching it in their car, from the cars. There was no scoreboard. It wasn't even at a GAA pitch. And it was, people didn't know the score. They were having to follow it on Twitter to find out what the score was, to be sure. That is as much ladies Gaelic football as 46,000 in Croke Park. And you have a situation where we have these then they play the league in those unglamorous conditions, and then come championship, the ground is hard, and Dublin are going to plough through Leinster. Mayo and Galway will play the Connacht final, and they won't have another game. They don't have a game for 6 weeks either side of that, whoever wins it. I just think the competition structure is farcical. Get these players want to play at that time of year, and you know what, we want to watch. And I think,
I suppose that would be the question I'd ask. I wouldn't necessarily agree with you there. Is that how many people will watch?
Well, I think a lot of people will watch it on the box.
Yeah, and that's the remaining problem for them. And it's great to get 46,000 and be the biggest watched women's team event in the world last year in terms of attendance. But you know, you go to league games, you go to that great league final that he talked about. You know, there's only a couple of thousand people at it, and the problem remains to get people to go out to the matches so that you create that body of thing. You get the sponsors, you get the TV coverage, you get the more competition, you get all of that. So I don't think it's as rosy as some people are saying.
Agreed.